When Redfall came out, Microsoft got a lot of hate, and maybe a little bit deservedly so. I've always said, and pretty much flat out, that I thought the game was okay. It probably didn't deserve all the hate that it was getting, but it's funny to me that Microsoft gets all the blame and all the credit for the bad things, but none of the credit for the good things. And there's a lot of good things going on with Xbox, which means that it's a little bit confusing when stuff like this comes up, and yet Microsoft gets zero accountability for it. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a video about it, and I just want to hear what everybody else thinks about it, because at the end of the day, I feel like Microsoft has done a banger job turning things around, but yet they don't get the credit that I feel like they deserve. And I hope that they get that credit soon, because at some point, people have to see that they're making the right calls, the right choices, the right decisions for gamers everywhere. Now, for me personally, I love the fact that Microsoft is doing this type of thing. And, Microsoft seems way more involved with their fans than PlayStation or even Nintendo at this point, right? Like, Nintendo fans are kind of left just hanging there. Clearly they're winding down the Switch. What's next? Who knows? I'm sure that's scary for Nintendo, though, because, the Switch is a bigger success than the Wii, and then they dropped the ball with the Wii U. Like, they don't want to do that with the Switch. Honestly, just come out with a more powerful Switch and call it the Switch 2 or something. Don't try and confuse people. Now, Sony, on the other hand, they are in a tough spot because Microsoft is picking up Activision, and they already have ZeniMax. They have 16, 17 games announced from the first party, and Sony has, I think, 2 or 3. So, yeah, there's a far different thing going on there. I think Sony really kind of blew their load. But I want to get into this because this is exactly the kind of stuff you never see. And I thought this was really cool. So Xbox really encouraged Bethesda to push back the release of Starfield, which was originally planned to release a year early. So there's no denying that Starfield is going to be a very important game for Xbox. And despite its popularity, the Xbox brand has always seemed to be a little bit behind PlayStation. Although I have to see the Xbox 360 really kind of outdid the PlayStation in pretty much every way as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, Starfield is actually the first opportunity in probably a decade for Xbox to prove that it can match the standard that PlayStation has when it's set to exclusives, and it's vital for the company's success that the game lives up to the hype that it's been given, especially since they dropped a pretty penny acquiring Bethesda to make it happen. So it's not a surprise to learn that Xbox has had a lot of involvement in the game's development, supposedly urging Bethesda to delay its release by a year to ensure that it's completely finished. A decision that's been heavily praised by fans, but nobody else outside of fans are really talking about it. So it's nice to see that there is at least this article sort of mentioning, hey, Microsoft is really doing the right thing here. Again, this is directly from Xbox head Phil Spencer himself, who was speaking about it, and he was talking about it, and he says, truth be told, when the acquisition closed, this game had a significantly earlier ship date than what we were actually launching in, and went on to say that they spoke with Starfield team in the hopes of giving them the time to actually finish the game. While it's probably a difficult decision to make, there's no doubt about it that it was the right one. After all, there's a saying in the games industry that a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. Nintendo recently followed this philosophy with their big 2023 launch of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which reportedly used a full year to fix and perfect features in the game. And I think we all know that Bethesda games are like when it comes to bugs and performance issues, and given the ridiculous amount of hype surrounding Starfield, the game will need to be near perfect if it wants to live up to people's expectations. And now, thankfully, Xbox has been assisting Starfield's team with quality assurance, claiming the game will have very few bugs compared to previous Bethesda games. In fact, the fewest of any Bethesda game ever released. So anyway, I think that is really good news. And I do think that, listen, if you're going to give Microsoft the credit or the blame for a Redfall, then give them the credit for helping this, because they sent their tech specialists, their Xbox specialist out to help get this game running on the Xbox Series and S and X, and Phil Spencer's already been playing it on his. I think it's probably ready to go, and I'm hoping for great things. I mean, we just found out that you could be a space samurai. I mean, think about that, a space freaking samurai. How cool is that? That sounds pretty damn cool to me, and I think Microsoft is definitely onto something with this. Is this going to be the new flagship game for Xbox? I don't really know. I can't really look into the future, but I do think that it bodes well for Microsoft if this game is going to do well. And I actually think, I'm not huge on Metacritic being the be all, everything all, but I am one of those people that think that it's obviously a situation where they have to do extremely well on that, because for you to change people's opinions, that's something that you have to do. You have to go out there and make sure that people are actually, taking Microsoft in a different manner, right? Thinking about Microsoft in a different way than they have in the past. Personally, I always think that Microsoft always gets like a lot of unnecessary hate and things like that. Of course, there's not really much longer left to wait until you get your hands on what many people is going to be a true Game of the Year contender. The pressure's building, the hype is building, everybody's getting excited for what's happening, and that includes me. Again, I've always just asked for a little bit of fairness where this stuff comes from, because Microsoft, like I said, for sure. And yeah, listen, they took it on the chin. Phil Spencer took it on the chin with Redfall. He took the blame, and again, I think a lot of people were looking at Redfall and thinking, oh man, this is their next big thing. But personally, I don't think they ever tried to market it like that, or anybody in the fan base was saying that Redfall was going to be the next Gears of War or Halo or anything like that. To be quite frank about it, Arcane, they put out like high scoring games, like well received games, but unfortunately they aren't like high selling games, or games that people are like flocking after, unfortunately, like they did Prey, and they did the Dishonored games. So again, I don't know, like I haven't actually played those games, but they just don't really seem like my cup of tea. While I did actually get into Redfall and beat it, because I think like doing like co-op stuff is a little bit more my cup of tea. But at the same time, I think Microsoft, they took the blame for it like they should have. And as far as I could tell, they're going to continue to do things that can get people excited about the brand. I've never been more excited about the brand. I'm sure that there's a lot of other people that feel the same way as me. And with Starfield literally right around the corner, I feel like we could finally get that next gen game that we're looking for. That's why I've said for a long time, that honestly, what happens for me personally is that this is going to be like the game that puts Xbox back on the map. If you look back to the various generations, Halo put Xbox on the map, Gears put Xbox 360 on the map. If you want to say Xbox One on the map, I would say Titanfall for sure, because that game really was something special. Then it got kind of watered down with the sequel, and it went multi-plat or whatever, but still. And then Xbox Series, I think we're still looking for that big. And even on the PS5, I think we haven't seen that big thing that puts it on the map yet. But I think Starfield could be it. And I think when people think that Starfield can't be a Game of the Year contender, I look at it and I say, listen, the industry is rife for something new. Yeah, we could sit there and go, man, that Zelda game sure was great, again and again and again. Or we could say, hey, you know what? This is a fantastic new franchise, a new IP, and it was amazing and inventive, and they really went for something with it, right? Something new. And I think that's why, in my opinion, Starfield should be not only the front runner, but probably the eventual winner of Game of the Year. And that is going to turn heads, and that is going to make people really kind of take a second opinion on Xbox, on the whole quality thing, on Game Pass, all that kind of stuff. And I can't wait for that day to happen. Of course, there will always be a subsect, mostly Sony fans, that are going to say, well, they didn't do anything, they just bought them, blah, blah, blah. And they'll totally ignore the fact that Microsoft helped optimize the game, helped with money, helped with the delay, gave them all this support. They'll forget about all that stuff. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.